And we're live. It's John Spencer Williams here with Ingrid Lill. And this session is an unusual one because Ingrid is, I described you the other day, as a visual thinking consultant. And she provides visual thinking partnerships to entrepreneurs and executives to help them and others, help them make decisions, solve problems, work out what they want their business to be about, work out how to communicate what their business is about if they're struggling to do that. Is that a fair description of you, Ingrid?
Yeah, that's exactly it.
That's good. I like that. We're getting good at it. So Ingrid's a client of mine. So we've been working on this for a while, and she actually kind of started this whole thing back in my Pioneer program.
Yeah.
God knows when that was, a couple of years
ago. The very first versions back then.
Yeah.
And often I help people get clear about their brand and to define the various elements that I'm going to show. But in your case, you already know what your brand is and you know what you're doing, obviously. And you're all about ideas. So the idea with this here is now that we're exploring if you should pursue a certain idea or not.
Yeah, that's right. And we're going to do this visually. So this is what Ingrid does. Shall I share your screen so you can explain a little bit what you do? So this is...
Yeah, I go a little closer. So this is me. And what I'm doing, brand storyboards, it's what I'm calling them. It's basically where I draw a business. In this case, it's me. I'm helping my clients to get through the Visual Thinkers Business Club from self-doubt and confusion into creativity and flow. So here, it's like a hero's journey. It's storytelling. This is the before, the problem pit, and this is the vehicle that gets them into paradise. So that's my thing. It's inspired by StoryBrand by Donald Miller. And these are the elements. So you are the hero. There's a monster to fight. There's a struggling hero. Your service needs to be explained in a 1, 2, 3 step in a simple way. And this is the hero in paradise. So I'm showing that not because we're going to draw your brand storyboard, because you are clear about your brand, you know what you help your clients with, and you know already where they want to be. But you can do all kinds of things with these elements. So here is a more compressed version of it, of these elements, which I call brand alignment. All these elements have to fit together in order to be a good story and a good business. And here I try to draw you from your LinkedIn profile.
Looks nothing like...
Oh, I forgot the beard. Yes, sorry.
You forgot the beard.
I have to add a little bit of hair here. Better?
Yeah, I love it. This is my profile photo. By the way, anyone who's watching, just say hi. And I'd love to get your comments as we go along and see what you think of this process. And also my idea when we get into that.
Yeah.
And if you're watching the replay, type #replay, just let us know that you're watching.
Excuse me. My plan for today is not to draw you how you help your clients, but to draw you in. This is the paradise panel. This is the struggling panel where you want to go into your business or in your life. I mean, that's you. This is the now, and this is the future. So we will paint a picture of your future, how you imagine it, like really quickly. It doesn't have to take long, and you decide what is important. And then we want to see if the idea gets you from here to there.
Right. So that's a really good point. Kind of framing it as like not just an idea on its own, but does this idea fit what you're trying to achieve overall?
Yes. And what is your idea?
So, the idea is a live event in London with speakers about AI, artificial intelligence and machine learning. But it's the brand I came up with is AI for all, because the hook is there are lots of AI talks and clubs you can go to for people who want to work in AI, lots of stuff for techies. There isn't anything that I've seen really that is, particularly in London, for just ordinary people. Might be entrepreneurs, creatives, people who are interested in AI. And AI is going to touch everybody's lives very, very quickly. It's moving at a remarkable pace. And I think everybody needs to get up to speed on this as quickly as possible. So the idea was to invite people to give talks about, is AI safe? Is it dangerous? What is AI going to do for artists? And Ingrid's done some really interesting stuff, experimenting with Midjourney, for instance, which is the AI that generates images, quite artistic images sometimes. And it's been really interesting to see, Ingrid experiment with it and use it as a part of her creative process as an artist. how can writers use it? I was using ChatGPT the other day to work on my proposal. I'm writing a book proposal for a fourth book, and it was really helpful. I got it to write in the style of Anthony Bourdain and Sarah Knight and PJ O'Rourke and A.A. Gill, who are people I like. And it was coming up with phrases I just wouldn't have thought of and angles, and it was sort of, it was really, really useful. So I think everybody needs to know about this. And I think it could be really successful. I think it could get in the press. So that's my idea. If anyone who's watching this live, we've got a few people watching this live, if you've got any reaction, would you come to, if you're in London, you may not be, Ingrid's in fact in Denmark, but if you're, anyone watching this, if you're in London, would you come to such a thing for an evening? It might be free, it might be a low cost. Haven't decided. Love to know.
Okay, that's the idea.
Yeah.
But now let's back up a little bit from the idea. You're not sure if you want to do it, right? Otherwise, you wouldn't want to investigate. So where do you want to go with your business? And if you can say that right now, you can also say what you're not happy with right now, and then we draw the opposite. But maybe you have a clear picture of it. Where do you see yourself in whatever?
Yeah, by the way, David on LinkedIn here is mentioning AIDA, A-I-D-A, with regard to AI and art. I hadn't heard of that one. It's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So, there's so much new stuff to learn about this topic. So where do I want to get to? I would like to get to 1 million turnover in the Ideas Lab, which is my company. I'm a long way off that at the moment. And have a decent profit margin. It's a vanity metric, really, but have a decent profit margin. And one of the things that will do is give me some money for, old age, because I'm getting on. My pension is absolute rubbish. So this will get all the LinkedIn pension advisors DMing me. So turn over 1 million. It also feels like a goal. Like I've been doing this for long enough, and I really should be creating a landmark business like that actually has a big impact on people as well. And the purpose of the Ideas Lab is to help people create something original. That's what I'm really interested in. It's not just about starting a business, which is something I love to help people do. But a lot of my clients now, in fact, are already working for themselves in some form. But I'm helping them to stand out and to do something original. And that's what lights me up. I love, what Ingrid is doing here is not like anybody else. That's what interests me. So I never get bored in my work as long as I'm doing that. So I don't know really if this event is in any way related. It's my attempt to make an original idea happen.
So it's all about original ideas.
Yeah. And I think AI will become very central to everything. So in a way, I'm good at positioning myself at the beginning of an up curve when things are about to take off. Although, if you're immersed in AI and you're really excited about it, like Ingrid and I are, you probably think, well, everybody knows about it. But in fact, your general punter on the street doesn't have any clue what's about to happen. And, the people making these AIs, like Sam Altman at ChatGPT, are scared themselves. They're making it, and still they're scared of how fast it's going to change society. And I think we're not ready for it.
So now you're already analyzing the idea. AI. So these are people who don't know what AI is.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what the event would help them with.
Yeah, people, they're smart enough to be interested and to want to learn, but they are not tech experts by any stretch of the imagination.
Okay. Is there something else like further down in the future where you see yourself? I mean, the 1 million turnover and landmark business and help your clients stand out?
Yeah, I would like to play a part. I feel quite a strong connection to Britain, which is my country, and I would like to help the UK. I'd like to play some part in fostering entrepreneurship and innovation in the UK. So if I end up working, and I've got friends and colleagues who've partnered with government on various projects to do something like this, it's not 1 million miles away. So if I can play some role in that, and if my books can help people to do that as well, which they already are, then that it feels meaningful to me.
Okay, now this is not a very pretty picture, but we have it. And now I want to copy this here. And where you now is also a good place, but smaller turnover.
Yeah, it's hovering around 200K or something at the moment.
You're in a good place, but you want to be more important in UK and helping them and
more well known, and and also books are part of that. So I'm working on a fourth book, as I've mentioned, and getting a fourth book deal is kind of.
Oh, that's so interesting. Your books, what are they about?
A new one is about doing something different to other people. It's using your unique personality to create something original in the world. So that's kind of what I'm working on at the moment. I'm working on a proposal for. I don't have a deal for it yet, and then I'll be shooting for a book deal.
And the others are about building a business, right?
Yeah, they're about making a living doing what you love and start launching an idea in 30 days.
Okay, then let's take this and see how it works. I mean, it's a new tool. Let's see if it works. Can we get you with this idea from here to there? And we start here. We enter at 1 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
I have to put that there and then draw here. Is your idea clear, novel, interesting, or surprising?
Yes. I think it's novel in that it's AI talks for normal people, not for techies.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's novel in that sense. And the fact that it's a live, I don't want to do another talk about AI on Zoom. It's like there's a million of them. It's the fact that you turn up and you have a beer and you learn something and you chat to each other, I think has a particular quality to it.
Mm-hmm. By the way, if anybody is drawing along here, you can use this also as a start for a mind map. And now I will maybe put all this a little bit to the side so I have more space here. So if anybody is evaluating their idea and you find maybe my idea is not really surprising, then you can start brainstorming from here and say, how could I make it more surprising?
Yeah.
But you say it is. Does it work at all? Your product, your idea, would it work?
I can't tell actually until I do it. And I think it depends on some criteria, like getting a good venue, somewhere people want to go, somewhere, that feels social, but central, and it doesn't feel like it's for techies only. Because I could imagine Google Campus or something giving space to a talk like this. That might set the wrong vibe. I don't know. So things like that, I really don't know whether it will work. My instinct is that it will. I have a pretty good. I ran a live event called Scanners Night, which is where this thinking is coming from, for 5 or 6 years. We ended up in the press. It was very popular. People still talk to me about Scanners Night today, even though I haven't run it for quite a few years now.
Yeah.
So I think it's the same kind of principle. I just think it's a hot topic. And I think getting in when something's taking off really makes a lot of difference. Because a year from now, doing a talk about AI or a series of talks about AI will be like doing talks about the internet. Like if you said, hey, I'm going to have a series of speakers talking about the internet, people would go like, what are you talking about? It would be ridiculous. Yeah. It's everywhere. It's everything.
Yeah. Okay, let's put it somewhere here because you don't know. Yeah. Does it bring your ideal people closer to their dreams? And now let's look at your ideal people. So are these your ideal people?
So first of all, I think if this works, it puts me at the center of the AI world in London, if not the UK, because it's like running a podcast or something like that. It builds your network really, really well. And I think nothing quite does it like an in-person thing. And I would have the mobile number of some of the most famous AI people in the UK. That's a very useful thing. But on the other side, there's the question of, and this is how I built, people say I'm very well connected, but I don't do sort of weird schmoozing where I'm just trying to manipulate people into joining my network. I just talk to people I find interesting. So this would be in that category. But it's a really good question you ask, because I think the people who'd be interested in attending this event are the kind of people I like to work with. Because one of the things I've realized is it's quite difficult. I occasionally work with people on their book, but there's a very small number of people who I can really help effectively, given I'm not particularly cheap. I can help with their book at a price that's worth me doing. But when I talk about the process of writing nonfiction books, it's good because the kind of people who like writing nonfiction books are the kind of people I like working with, even if I work with them on something else. So I think that applies to AI as well. The kind of people who want to learn about AI right now, who are smart and open-minded, they're scanners quite often. They've got all sorts of side projects.
Well, it would be for entrepreneurs.
Yeah, it would probably be, yeah, because my vision is I want to end up in the Daily Mail. Scanners Night ended up in the Daily Express and glossy magazines. If you do an event that's AI for entrepreneurship, you're not going to end up in the paper. So I don't know. For some reason, I'm kind of stuck on that as a marker
Yeah,
of
yeah,
success.
yeah. I mean, because here you talk about people who want to stand out, to do something original. And
Yeah.
here you talk about people who are like normal people and you're doing something for the masses.
Well, I should qualify that. My mum's not going to come to this, for instance. It's going to be people who are curious, who have lots of interest, love learning about new things. And so when they hear about this AI thing, which is big and it's coming down the line, they want to get up to speed on it because they're the kind of person who likes doing that. That's the kind of person I like working with. So it's not just the general puncher in the street who has no interest. It's a particular kind of person.
Okay, then you have to communicate that also, or filter.
Yeah, I think the nature of the event will effectively do that, because your average person isn't going to come to a talk about AI safety, but it would be, I would call it something funky, like I would call it something like, is AI really going to kill all humans? Which is the phrase Bender, the robot, keeps saying in Futurama. And I would make it accessible in that way, but still it would only attract a certain kind of person who's smart and interested and curious and so on. If they just want to keep their head down and make money and then go to the pub and get drunk, they're probably not going to come to my event.
So I think that's crucial, that you have a title that filters the right people.
Yeah.
I mean, that's also here. This is the communication part. Is your idea clear and novel and interesting or surprising, or does it filter the wrong people out? Because your ideal people that bring you closer to your vision, you said they have to have money. And how does this come into here?
I still think it will automatically filter, because this is effectively for early adopters. Most people, everyone on Twitter's talks endlessly about ChatGPT. The general public doesn't. So, if you go and ask somebody outside Tesco's near me, have you used ChatGPT? They'll go, what's that? They'll have no idea.
But are these your ideal people?
No, they're not. So what I'm looking for is the kind of person who is interested in whatever's new. They are early adopters of technology and of ideas. So in that technology adoption curve, the bell curve, they're not even the early majority, which is a big chunk. They're the early adopters, or whatever they're called, at the beginning of that curve. They're not the super, super early people, because those are people who've decided to go and work in AI already. But it's the next bunch. I can't remember what that is. This is, jump in the chasm concept. Maybe somebody can tell me.
So it's not a live event about AI for all. It's about AI for early adopters and curious people.
It is. I think I would probably still call it AI for all, because I just think the mission is interesting. So innovators is 2.5% of the population. You might catch a few of those, but they might find it a bit too basic. It's the early adopters you're going to catch, who are 13.5%. I'm reading this off the article. Okay. And then later into the early majority, which is a third.
Yeah. So does it bring your ideal people closer to their dreams, your possible clients, maybe?
I think it brings them closer to me, which is good. They get to meet me.
Which is closer to their dreams.
Well, yeah, exactly. I mean, I can make them true.
Does it reduce their suffering? I don't know if this is...
Does it reduce it? Well, I mean, their suffering might be that they're worried about... I'm not sure I will reduce that, to be honest. I'm pretty worried.
Does it fight a common enemy, which is always good for communication? If you want to make a movement, then this common enemy is a great thing to identify.
Yeah. Phil Harrison was talking to me when I was in Thailand about the One Sentence Persuasion book.
Yeah.
And it's part of the One Sentence Persuasion is, if you throw rocks at their enemies,
exactly,
people will love you. So the enemy might just be ignorance. And what I might share with them is that we're worried about being left behind. And I think the enemy really is just, floundering in ignorance ourselves. Cheryl says, this is fascinating. Cool.
But their suffering is actually a fear of being left behind.
Yeah. That's true. So it solves that problem.
And the enemy is maybe also ignorance. It's those people who want to keep them in ignorance. Or maybe it's some mainstream of big companies. You don't want to be dependent on the information that OpenAI is giving you.
Or maybe the enemy is people who make this stuff too complicated. Like a lot of commentary around AI is quite complicated. So I don't know, maybe it's that.
Because the enemy should be outside. Ignorance is inside.
Right. Yeah.
So why are they stuck in ignorance? Why are we stuck in ignorance? You can save us. It's because...
I mean, if I was running the country right now, if I was in government, I would be making it a high priority to get up to speed on AI myself, but also to push AI development, make sure the UK has a seat at the table, for instance, and also educate the general public about it so that we're ready for it. Because in 12 months' time, we could see some really, really dramatic changes in a lot of areas.
Okay, then this would be an enemy here. You can make it a political thing. UK is slow, we are being left behind.
Yeah, because my image of the government is, I think this is true of a lot of the governments in the Western world, they don't think more than 1 month ahead. I mean, I'd like to say one election cycle. I don't even think it's that. I think it's like 1 month, particularly in our current government. It seems to be completely not long-term thinking at all.
Okay.
So yeah, that would be, and then, if you could mobilize this is a good point, because if you could mobilize these people who come into the event, then they can go out and evangelize about AI to other people and help to push the agenda. Like, maybe this helps kind of create more conversation around AI in the UK, then maybe that will mean that the opposition party will think, oh, we should have a viewpoint on this topic. And then that puts it on the political agenda at that point.
Can that bring your ideal people closer to their dreams if you mobilize them?
So I think it brings them closer to their dreams because they'll learn a lot. We won't just be talking about AI safety and things like that. We'll also have demos of tools. So we could have, like, what are the latest things you can do in art? Because it's changing every week. I mean, Midjourney 5 only came out, was it last week or something, Ingrid? You've been using that, haven't you?
The last Midjourney? Oh, I'm still using version 3 because it makes a certain kind of image that I like.
Oh, really? Yeah, it's a hipster retro style. Yeah. Well, apparently the latest version is like really, really impressive.
Yeah, I don't use it for making portraits and stuff. I use it for making backgrounds and more artistic stuff.
And ideas and things. Yeah. So it's changing so fast, but there's no way I'm up to date by any stretch of the imagination. So when someone comes in and demos a Midjourney 5 or maybe a pre-release like Midjourney 6, if that's possible, it's going to be, I think, anybody who's smart and interested in the world will be fascinated by it.
Yeah.
So anyway, what they'll be learning in order to get them closer to their dreams is, oh, maybe I could use Midjourney to do this. Maybe I could use ChatGPT to do this. And of course, there could be business ideas that are spawned around AI. That puts me at the center of that kind of conversation. I might be doing something cool with AI and I can help them with the business side of it.
Well, maybe you have to give me a number for each. Is this a 5 or a 0, or are they all 5s or what?
So I think it's a good. What is this? Is this 1 to 5?
Yeah, this is 0.
I think it's a 5 for does it bring people closer? Does it bring? Wait a minute. Oh, does it bring people close to their dreams? No, that's more like a 3 or 4. Does it bring me the right people? I think is a 5. I really do think it brings the right, or 4.5 maybe, because they're not necessarily all entrepreneurs,
Reduce their suffering.
Yeah, I'm not so sure about that. That's kind of like halfway along. Reduces their suffering in terms of feeling worried they don't know what's coming.
Yeah, afraid of being left behind.
And also stop them sleeping at night.
Then the common enemy is that UK is too slow and...
Yeah, but the people who should be rushing to educate themselves and educate us about AI are not doing so, like the government.
Yeah.
So.
And does your event make the world better? I mean, that's your philosophical point of view thing.
No, definitely. I think having people better informed about AI is definitely a net positive.
The last thing, which is maybe also the most interesting, does your idea express who you want to be? And now let's look again at here.
Yes. Well, so the downside is it is a distraction from simply focusing on the core business and getting it, to that 1 million turnover in however long. It expresses who I am as a person because I'm an ideas person and I love new ideas. Yes. I love new things. I love, I'm very interested in AI.
Yes. But I mean, you could also attend an event.
Yeah,
not help the UK to advance. You can advance your business instead of. So, I mean, here you didn't say that you want to be a political activist and you want to be, you talked about money and helping your clients stand out. Yeah, I know. This is the biggest question. And it's going to take some time and attention. And is that a distraction that could be better used on things? And you said you have made up your mind already when we started, or?
Well, I was kind of obsessed with this idea last week. I'm veering towards not doing it because I feel like I should focus properly.
So this is actually like here.
Yeah, but one of the other thing is, of course, if we get a book deal imminently and Pearson says, yes, let's do it, then I've got a book to write and a business to run. Do I really need to add in a live event on AI into the mix?
Yeah. Okay.
That's the question.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
And by the way, for people who are using this, if you have a different idea, and now we can connect the dots here and see how much ground we cover.
Yeah. I like that.
If you have a different idea, then you can put it here, like the book, or if the book deal is here, but then it's kind of, let's say it's like this. And you can count the points. I mean, you could also do that with a list, but I find it much more, what I like about this visual working is that I have it all here on one piece of paper, and I can write stuff here, and I can start working and putting ideas there. And so that's why I'm doing it like this and not lists.
Yeah, so that's really interesting. So just a couple of input things here. David was saying, how about the different applications of AI for small business? I definitely want to cover that as a talk. Chuk here says, I think there's so many layers to the concerns of AI, how it affects future generation of learning education. Yeah, one in talk about education would be really good. And somebody was asking, are we talking about John's idea? So yeah, Ingrid's helping me to choose whether to press go on an idea, which is about public series of talks with expert speakers around AI for the general public. So non-techie, but for interested people who want to know about what's happening with AI because it's moving so fast. And I'm just really excited about the idea. But this has been really interesting, Ingrid.
Yeah.
And I think framing it in terms of where I'm trying to get to is so important, as you say. So it's really good that we did the before and after. Yeah. And then, the common enemy is really interesting.
Yeah.
And the other thing I realized as you went through this process with me is it's similar to, as I've said, to like if I run a workshop about how to write a nonfiction book, I know that the kind of people who come to that, people who would buy one-to-one coaching from me on their business, even though the workshop's not about that. But there's a very strong overlap. And the good thing about it, if you run an event in London about my world, which is like how to make a living, as a solopreneur, I guess, I can do that. I can fill it. It won't have the buzz. It won't have the momentum of something that's new and unique and feels like there isn't really any competition. Because I did look around on meetup.com, for instance. There isn't really anything like this for the general public.
Yeah, why we keep talking about the general public? If you want to help people with money, stand up.
Well, I'm using the term general public just to distinguish from techies and developers. So,
but you could make it much more specific. And here we are again at the issue idea at this communication thing.
Right.
If you make it specifically for people how to stand out with the help of AI, how to use it to advance in your business and stand out, then you would have exactly the overlap that you talked about if you make a book event.
I would. I think that's got less momentum. Like, I don't think you get press for that.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
That's not necessarily a bad thing. It would have a smaller appeal. It would obviously have a much more focused appeal. And I just think if you're going to say, well, this is to develop your business, then we can't have those wide-ranging discussions about AI safety or how AI is going to affect healthcare. I think the part of the thing that excites me is that we're going to be having what is basically a very wide-ranging discussion that sometimes is on the kind of philosophical level. And that's kind of what excites me as a scanner, somebody with lots of ideas and interests and loves new things. If I was more practical, I would do a AI for entrepreneurship series of talks. But
it's not that like you can't discuss stuff with entrepreneurs.
I mean, I just feel like also I'm on Facebook, right? And I'm friends with all these copywriters, and they're all going on about how to use AI for copywriting. And then people are starting to sell courses for entrepreneurs about it. And I feel like, oh, God, already.
Yeah, and all these courses for how to illustrate your book with AI. And here, by the way, is another version of this.
Yeah.
Oops, no, I forgot something. Not forgot. It has to be here and it has to be in the back. Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is the same that we just did. We don't have to go through it.
Yeah.
But it could be that you can answer all the questions with yes, 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 it works, or
Right.
no, it doesn't.
Yeah.
But it could be that you want to do it anyway. So if your intuition says, but I want to do it, then it's probably right. It's like flipping a coin and asking, should I do it or not?
Yeah.
And then as soon you have flipped it, you know what you want.
Yeah. Yeah. I know exactly what you mean. Yeah. So Ingrid, I think this has been really interesting. Is there a version of the one we filled in that you can give to people?
Yeah. I have a worksheet about that. And wait a second, where are you? Stop screen. So here we are again. I can put a link in the chat if anybody sees that, or I have just posted also on LinkedIn.
Okay, great. So there's a link, and so people will be able to download a version of that, and they'll be able to sketch it. You don't need to be able to draw as well as Ingrid. Just draw, however you feel like drawing.
It's not like this. These were drawings that were very artsy. But that's also my whole point. Drawing doesn't have to be art. It has to work and be clarify stuff. Is there a chat here in this?
Yeah, I'm just looking at somebody. I can't see who's written the other comment.
Can I write a comment?
Oh, Anna, right. Oh, no, it wasn't. No, it was somebody else. Yeah, I think you should be able to type in the comments. Yeah.
Oh, no, I can't. I can see the comments, but then I have to go.
If you can message me with the link, I can put it in here now. So you could send it on Voxer if you want to.
Yes.
I was logged into Voxer a minute ago to talk to you. So
here we are.
Fab. All right, Dropbox. Copy link. So this is Ingrid's plane. And that's it's acting a bit weird. Okay. Can't post comments to some destinations. I'm not sure what that means. So it's on some of them anyway. And if people want to find out more about you, Ingrid, should we go to
littlebranding.com, and there's also a link to my free branding cafe. We did one yesterday about finding your why, which was fun. So there's a link on it there. There's also a menu point called course with my visual thinking.
And this is on ingridlill.dk, is it?
Yes, or littlebranding.com. Leads to the same.
And anyone can come to that branding cafe, can they?
Yeah, that's once a month.
Yeah. So if you sign up for Lil's newsletter, which is probably the best way of finding out. Sorry, Ingrid's. Then
that's actually my artist's name. I find it Lil, and that's totally
so
okay.
if you sign up, then you'll hear about the branding cafe, and so you could actually volunteer to go through this process. And sometimes it's busy, and sometimes you stand a good chance of being the person who gets picked, and you could do this whole thing with Ingrid. And what Ingrid does as her main activity now, she works, as I've mentioned at the beginning, with entrepreneurs and people running companies and other people to help them think visually. So this could be one of her clients. She's basically mapped out their entire business, the decisions they're making, how they're going to run the company, how they're going to expand it, this new idea they're thinking about launching, anything you want to think through. Then you'd rather not just have like a talking partner, which is normal kind of coaching process, then you can actually do it all visually with Ingrid, which I think is very cool. Is that a fair description, Ingrid?
Yes, it was wonderful. Thank you.
Well, thanks for doing this. It's been really interesting. That's great.
Yeah. Did it tip you in any way? Did it have an interest?
That made me more keen to do it. I thought it was going to do the opposite and cement the fact that I shouldn't do it. Yeah. And I think that the thing that makes me most excited is it's made me realize I think the kind of people that turn up are my ideal client. Mm-hmm. I think that's really interesting. By the way, if you've got a graphic of if you could do a JPEG of the finished drawing, maybe we could put that.
Of this drawing today?
Yeah, would that be all right?
Yeah.
You feel like you've got to touch it up now, don't you?
Yes, I do.
It's going to take hours, but yeah, we'll see if we can do that.
I'm shading on it. Maybe fix your chin.
Yeah. All right. That's brilliant. Well, thanks very much. And you can connect with Ingrid. You're mostly on LinkedIn these days, aren't you?
I'm on.
Maybe look for, put your afterwards in Facebook. Actually, I can do it right now. Then if you go find Ingrid on LinkedIn, then she's posting regularly on there. And that's a good place to find out what she's doing. And you'll also see on there things like her branding cafe when it comes up, that kind of stuff you can take part in. All righty. Oh, and she, by the way, she does do like one-off sessions or packages where you're just trying to work out what your mission is in life or how to capture your mission and communicate that in a really powerful way. And so as you've seen us do it today, she can get somewhere quite impressive very quickly. So yeah, go and check out her website if you want to know more about that. All right. Thanks everyone that came along live, and anyone who's watching this later, let us know your comments. Was that interesting? And we will see you in the group and on LinkedIn
So thank you so much for playing here with me.
Yeah, no, my pleasure. Thank you. All right. Okay. How do I end it? I end the broadcast. Let's do that now. Cheers.